The air hangs thick, not with sound, but with meaning. You feel it on your antenna, a low, electric hum of information. 1,000 bodies move around you in perfect, unthinking unison, a river of chitin and legs flowing through corridors of packed earth. There are no shouts, no whispers, no debates. There is only the mission. Broadcast into the very air you breathe, a command absorbed directly into your being. This is a city that functions in absolute silence, yet it is never quiet. Have you ever truly considered what it would be like to live without choice? Dictated not by thought or feeling, but by an invisible chemical edict. You are physically incapable of disobeying. Now, let's shrink down and peer into the microcosm to uncover the great truths hidden in the smallest of lives. Here, in the pulsing dark, language is not heard, but inhaled. It is a code carried on the breeze, a molecular syntax that predates words by 100 million years. The pheromone for alarm is the terror it creates, a cascade of panic that ripples through the colony. With the speed of a chemical reaction, the pheromone for food is not a map, but a gravitational pull on your very being. This world is governed by a force more fundamental than law or culture. It is a system of biological totalitarianism, elegant and terrifying in its perfection. There are no police, for there is no crime. There is no dissent, for the thought of it cannot be formulated. Every citizen is a prisoner of its own biology, born into a role it will execute flawlessly, until one where the self was sacrificed on the altar of the system, where the chaos of individuality was traded for the sterile, breathtaking efficiency of the whole. This is not a society, it is a superorganism, and you are but a single, expendable cell within its body. As a cell, your purpose is function. And now, a new signal permeates the darkness, a subtle shift in the colony's chemical signature. It is the scent of hunger, a collective need broadcast from the nursery, and it overwrites your previous state. You are no longer a mere component, you are a forager. Pushed by this invisible imperative, you spill out into the blinding chaos of the sunlit world. The forest floor is a maelstrom of information, a library of smells detailing decay, life, and the passing of larger beings. But your senses are tuned. You are a living lock, and you are searching for a single chemical key. You find it the sweet, complex signature of fallen fruit. As you begin to process this bounty, a gland at the tip of your abdomen begins to secrete, involuntarily. You are painting the ground with a message, a single, molecular sentence that says, "This way. Here is life." You are not a cartographer. You have no concept of a map, no memory of the path you took. You are simply a vessel, and your discovery has triggered a biological reflex. You return to the nest, your trail bleeding into the environment behind you, a faint and fragile thread. But it is enough. One of your sisters crosses it. The pheromone latches onto her receptors, and her pathfinding protocol is hijacked. She turns, compelled to follow the scent. Then another and another. On their return, they too reinforce the trail, each adding their own chemical voice to the chorus. The faint thread becomes a cord, then a rope, then a pulsating highway of scent, its reality built and strengthened by the consensus of the crowd. This is not the infrastructure of humanity. We build our roads with brute force, with blueprints and calculations, imposing a rigid, permanent geometry on the landscape. This pheromone trail is different. It is an emergent intelligence, a living network that adapts in real time. It is a system of information that is both incredibly efficient and utterly disposable. When the fruit is gone, the reinforcement stops. The chemical message, no longer repeated, evaporates. The highway dissolves back into the air, leaving no scar upon the earth. It is architecture without ego, a masterpiece of logistics with no single mind to claim credit. It is the colony's memory, stored not in a brain, but written upon the world itself, a shared knowledge that exists only as long as it is needed. This chemical language does more than draw maps to resources, it draws the unbreachable borders of the self. It draws the unbreachable borders of the self. Your entire world, every interaction, is filtered through one binary question: us or them. As you move through the warm, pulsing darkness of the nest, you are bathed in a familiar perfume. It is a complex cocktail of hydrocarbons, a unique signature exuded by your queen, and shared among every member of the colony through constant, intimate grooming. This is the scent of belonging. When your antennae gently brush against a sister, you are not greeting her, you are verifying her passport. You are verifying her passport. The correct scent signature triggers a cascade of communal responses. The sharing of food. The meticulous cleaning of limbs. It is a constant, chemical maintenance of the collective identity, a ritual that erases the individual and reinforces the whole. Now, imagine a stranger at the gate, an ant from a rival colony, genetically almost identical, but chemically an alien. Its scent is a dissonant chord in the familiar harmony of the nest. To you, it is a walking violation. It is a walking violation. The foreign pheromone is not an invitation to parley. It is a biological switch. It bypasses what little consciousness you have and speaks directly to your most ancient, violent instincts. Your mandibles flare open, not from a decision you made, but from a reflex you cannot control. In that same instant, your body releases a new kind of message, the alarm pheromone. It is a sharp, volatile molecule that screams, INVSON, into the air. The scent spreads like a shockwave through the colony's corridors, and the reaction is absolute. It is a neurological override. For every sister that smells it, the only possible response is frenzied, suicidal aggression. Frenzied, suicidal aggression. Soldiers boil up from the deeper chambers, their bodies built for one purpose, now activated by a single molecule. This is conflict stripped bare of righteousness, honor, or even hatred. It is the immune response of the superorganism, and you are its white blood cell, rushing to annihilate a pathogen. Rushing to annihilate a pathogen without a flicker of doubt or mercy. It is the terrifying logical end point of a world without individuals. A world without individuals. The same chemical absolutism that dictates war and peace at the border also governs the heart of the empire, the royal nursery. The royal nursery. You are guided into the deepest chambers, where the air itself feels alive, thick with the pheromones of the brood. Thick with the pheromones of the brood. This is the scent of pure potential, a chemical signal of helplessness that compels service. All around you are glistening eggs and pale, writhing larvae, each emitting a silent, molecular command. I am healthy. I am the future. Feed me. As a nurse, you are a puppet of this command. The signal latches onto your senses and triggers a powerful, physiological reflex to regurgitate food. To tend to these fragile vessels of the colony's genetic legacy. There is no tenderness here, no love. There is only a chemical stimulus, and a programmed response. Beside 1,000 thriving larvae lies one that is still. It is weak, its growth stunted by some unseen defect. Its growth stunted by some unseen defect. Its pheromonal broadcast is faint, a fading whisper in a room of shouts. It is failing to issue the correct chemical command. And so, you pass it by. Your nurturing instincts are not triggered, because the signal is absent. It is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of profound indifference. In a world where existence is confirmed only by the right chemical signature, this larva is already a ghost. It is ceasing to be, and you simply ratify the decision by doing nothing. A new pheromone drifts down from the queen, a scent of stress, signaling that food is scarce. This ruthless efficiency takes on a more terrifying dimension when the colony itself is threatened. This new command changes the entire calculus of the nursery. Suddenly, the brood's cry for nourishment is filtered through the more urgent signal of the colony's starvation. The brood's cry for nourishment is filtered through the more urgent signal of the colony's starvation. The larvae are no longer the future. They are a standing reserve of protein. The imperative to nurture is instantly overwritten by a new, horrifying command: survive. You and your sister nurses turn on the very young you were just feeding. You consume the eggs and the larvae not with malice, but with the same unthinking obedience with which you once protected them. With the same unthinking obedience. This is not infanticide. It is a biological audit, a cold, strategic liquidation of assets for the preservation of the crown. For the preservation of the crown. You follow this chain of command to its source. The stress signal that condemned the larvae. The scent of identity that defines your sisters. The quiet hum of order that underpins every action. It all emanates from a single point. You are drawn to the royal chamber, a vaulted space, where the air is a narcotic, so saturated with pheromonal command, it is almost a liquid. Here is the mother of all, the biological singularity your world orbits, the queen. She is not a monarch in any human sense. She is a living factory, a vast, pulsating abdomen dedicated to a single, relentless purpose. Laying the endless river of eggs that is your people. She does not govern with speech or gesture. Her rule is far more profound. She governs by exuding a perfume. This is the queen mandibular pheromone, the ultimate law of the colony. As this scent washes over you, it is not merely a reminder of your loyalty. It is an act of profound biological manipulation. An act of profound biological manipulation. The molecules bind to your receptors and systematically suppress your own reproductive system. You and your million sisters were born with ovaries, with the potential to create life. But the queen's perfume chemically sterilizes you, shutting down that potential before it can ever be realized. This is not the crude violence of a human despot eliminating rivals. It is an act of unparalleled efficiency, a tyranny that prevents rivals from ever existing in the first place. A tyranny that prevents rivals from ever existing. Her pheromone is more than a chemical castration. It is the social glue that binds your reality together. Binds your reality together. You are compelled by instinct to approach her, to groom her, to lick this potent cocktail from her body. To lick this potent cocktail from her body. Then, through a constant chain of mouth-to-mouth sharing, this chemical message is passed from you to your sisters, circulating through the entire colony like blood. circulating through the entire colony like blood. It is a constant application of the queen's chemical signature, ensuring every single ant is branded, unified, and subservient. Branded, unified, and subservient. Human leaders use ideology and force to forge unity. The queen uses chemistry. Her power is absolute because her subjects are not merely convinced to obey, they are biologically rewired to be incapable of doing anything else. Biologically rewired to be incapable of doing anything else. It's a perfect system of control, where the prison is the air you breathe, and the warden is a scent. This perfect, centralized system of control is a marvel of biological engineering. But its singular reliance on one broadcaster, the Queen, is also its greatest vulnerability. Its greatest vulnerability. Imagine a tremor deep within the earth, a sudden shift that crushes the royal chamber. The Queen is gone. Her body ceases its endless production, and the most important broadcast in your world goes silent. The most important broadcast in your world goes silent. For a few hours, nothing seems to change. The residual pheromones still linger in the air, a ghostly echo of authority. A ghostly echo of authority. But the law is no longer being renewed. The air is thinning, losing its meaning. The signal is fading. A deep and unnerving confusion begins to ripple through the colony. The scent trails laid by foragers are no longer reinforced, and the once great highways of commerce evaporate into the soil, leaving patrols wandering in confused, useless circles. In the nursery, the chemical commands from the brood go unanswered, as the nurses fall into a strange lethargy. The intricate social machinery, with its millions of interlocking parts, begins to seize up. You approach a sister, antenna twitching, seeking the familiar chemical reassurance of the Queen's perfume on her body. But the signature is faint, diluted. The definition of us is dissolving. Then, as the Queen's repressive scent vanishes completely, a biological anarchy is unleashed. Your own body, held in a state of perpetual immaturity by your mother's chemical tyranny, begins to betray the collective. Your ovaries, dormant for your entire life, begin to swell. A futile, pointless instinct for individual replication awakens within you. You and thousands of your sisters begin to lay clutches of unfertilized eggs, a chaotic last gasp of rogue genetics. The superorganism fractures into a million points of failed self-interest. The colony is still full of living ants, but the colony is dead. It has perished not from attack or starvation, but from information collapse. It is a terrifying allegory for our own fragile systems, a silent, creeping chaos that reveals what happens when the invisible language we depend upon simply stops. You pull your consciousness back from the silent ruin of the colony, the scent of chaos and decay fading as your own world rushes back in. You are human again, an individual, a being defined by free will, reason, and a rich internal world. We build our societies on debate, consent, and the beautiful, messy friction of competing ideas. Have we truly escaped the pheromone code, or have we just learned to disguise it, to give it more poetic and palatable names? What, after all, is a viral marketing campaign if not a trail pheromone. Chemically engineered to create a powerful, irrational desire, leading millions to a product they do not need. Leading millions to a product they do not need. What is the carefully crafted political rhetoric that triggers instant, tribal solidarity, if not an alarm pheromone? If not an alarm pheromone, designed to unify a base against a perceived threat. Our signals are not carried on the air as simple molecules. They are woven into pixels, into sound bites, into the very fabric of the stories we tell ourselves. Into the very fabric of the stories we tell ourselves. They don't bind to our antennae, they bind to our limbic systems, hijacking our primal needs for belonging, status, and safety. Hijacking our primal needs to produce coordinated mass behavior that feels like a personal choice. We look at the ant, a slave to its biology, and we see a creature utterly alien to us. Yet, we willingly marinate our minds in the invisible broadcasts of our own chosen hives. We tune into the frequency of our preferred news channel. We scroll through the algorithmically curated scent trail of our social media feeds. The algorithmically curated scent trail of our social media feeds. We adopt the jargon and rituals of our subcultures. Each of these is a chemical signature, a code that reinforces our identity and tells us who to trust, who to follow, and who to fear. Tells us who to trust, who to follow, and who to fear. The ant's world is a stark simplification, a perfect laboratory for observing the mechanics of control. A perfect laboratory for observing the mechanics of control. By looking at them, we do not see ourselves, but we see a chillingly clear diagram of the forces that may be shaping us still, just beyond the threshold of our awareness. Just beyond the threshold of our awareness. And so, we pull back completely, leaving the silent, scent-driven empires to their ancient, intricate dance. Their ancient, intricate dance. We return to our world of breathtaking complexity, of art and love, and unpredictable chaos. A world that seems to be the very antithesis of the hive. The very antithesis of the hive. When you next feel the powerful, irrational pull of a crowd, or the comforting certainty of a shared belief. The comforting certainty of a shared belief. Take a moment to wonder, are you truly thinking for yourself? Or are you just following a scent you cannot smell? Down a path you did not choose. Down a path you did not choose.